You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello and welcome to UFC on AfterBuzz TV. My name is Daria Berenato, and I'm here with Pinky and the Brain, or just
who's Pinky?
I'd be both of them. Thank you very much.
I'm Pinky and the Brain. Pinky and the Brain.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
And George.
There wasn't a
We're here
George.
with George Hermoza and Mr. J Tan, as always. Looking good in pink, Jay.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day? Is that what it's for? It's the seasonal
Well,
shirt?
yeah, of course, pink is the official color of Mother's Day.
Right,
Because when you think women, of course you think pink.
Okay.
And when you think pink, you think women. And there's no other way around it. That's just how it is universally throughout
What do
the
you
world.
think when you see yellow?
School bus.
Food. I get hungry.
I was going to go with AfterBuzz, but anyway, welcome to AfterBuzz, guys. We're here to talk about UFC Fight Night 65, Miocic versus Hunt. This went down. What?
You're doing it now.
Let's go. It went down in Australia yesterday, and it was on Fight Pass. So if you guys didn't see it, you can see it now. For how much, guys? $9.99.
It's like $10 after taxes.
Correct.
It's like $10 after taxes. And if you take George Hermoza's username, it's free. I'll give it out after the show. Anyway, let's start at the bottom of the card, because there was a lot of interesting fights and very few decisions, which is my kind of card.
Yeah, this was another one that I want to say there's something in the water down there, Australia, or certainly the mentality of fighters that are on an Australian card. They go for broke. I think they know. It's weird to say. I want to say that they know that the crowds love finishes, but what crowd that's watching the UFC doesn't like finishes?
Exactly.
But boy, this is the second one down there, I believe, of this year, where the last one, if I remember correctly, there were no decisions on that one. It was the first one in like 15 years or something.
It was
a very
good
long
fight
time.
card. I remember that. I remember it was action-packed and super entertaining.
This one, you only had 2 decisions on the entire 12-fight card, one of which I disagree with, but,
We'll talk about that. Yeah, there was a split decision.
Elmira.
Elmira?
What's Elmira?
Don't know.
What's Elmira?
The people at home watching will know what that comment is.
Well, the people that are doing the show should probably know as well. We got Joe Boza in the house.
Joe, what's going on?
What up, man? How are ya? I don't know why I looked to you to answer that question. Daria, how's Joe Boza?
I don't know. How's Joe Boza?
Ask him.
In response to your guys' thing, James Foran on the chat roll said, I should be Elmira. So that's why I was like reacting, Elmira.
Oh, okay.
So,
we'll find out. You let us
still
know.
as well.
Anyway, let's start from the bottom of the card. We have Altekin Ozilic versus Ben Nugent. Ben won via KO in round 1. Next, we have Vic Gruchik versus Brendan O'Reilly. O'Reilly won via unanimous decision. That was one of the only decisions on the card. Then we had some strawweight females, one of which was in the Ultimate Fighter House, Alex Chambers versus Kylan Curran. We last saw Kylan against Paige Van Zandt. Chambers secured an armbar in round 3 to finish it, but before that, Kylan Curran was really taking it to her.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Rare moment. You kind of knew that you were in for a special treat. That the whole show, like when things early in the show get set off like that.
Yeah.
Alex came from behind. Kylan looked fantastic. It really made me want to see, based on Kylan's performance, made me want to see a rematch with Paige.
It did, because I think that Kylan Curran's first fight in the UFC was obviously against Paige Van Zandt, and I think that it was still getting rid of some of those jitters and some of the first UFC experience, stuff. But this time, she looked like a more mature, more veteran Kylan Curran. So
she kept control a lot against Alex in the cage, but just got was in the third. Got caught. I think was it working?
She was working a Kimura.
Got the takedown
at first,
and Alex was in bottom and worked for Kimura. Was just very patient.
Yeah.
And when Kylan stood up, kind of to stack her. Got caught in that armbar position.
That's exactly what happened. You saw her looking at her corner while she was in the Kimura, like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, get me out of this. And it was a shame because, like I said, her striking looked phenomenal. She's a wrestler, too. Her wrestling's always been good. But you know what? Alex Chambers is a champ. She hung in there with the warrior spirit that she has and came out with the finish. So
it's good
congratulations.
I think this also establishes that they can keep her around for the next Australian show. Maybe there may be one towards the end of the year or so.
Right.
But proves that she can. She's got a little bit of momentum. And kind of might have saved her career, frankly, or at least her tenure in the UFC.
Right. You never know. We also have in that weight class we have a new title matchup. Joanna and Jacek is fighting Jessica Penne. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a pretty interesting fight.
That was because Gustafsson got hurt.
Right.
Who was he supposed to fight? He was supposed to fight
Jessica Penne.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was supposed to like Glover Teixeira.
Yeah.
And then they needed a new main event. So enter Joanna with her first title defense. So that should be fun to watch.
They're both boxers. I mean, Jessica Penne is like a good, dirty boxer. So that'll be an interesting stand-up match. I'm not gonna lie.
I think Joanna's gonna destroy her.
I think Joanna's gonna win as well. But we will see. Next on the card, we have Dylan Andrews versus Bradley Scott. Scott wins via guillotine in round 2. Next, we have Rowdy Beck Rawlings versus Lisa Ellis, another matchup in the 115-pound division. Rawlings
go ahead.
won via rear naked choke.
Lisa Ellis was the one that had the weird blanket, right?
Yes, the baby blanket of her 1-year-old.
Eating the cake.
I think eating the cake, which happened to be red and it looked like a murder scene.
Yes,
because the blanket was a little bit messed up on the bed there.
You guys that don't remember, go watch the Ultimate Fighter strawweight season. I don't know what number was that. 20.
20?
Yeah, it was 20. I'm trying to think. The episode was...
It was like the second episode.
Was it the episode that you and I did without her?
It was the second or third episode.
I think I was here because I remember talking about that. You did the
Right, but I think you weren't there for the episode. I think that might have been the one that Steven... I remember, actually, Steven was producing that one.
Yeah?
Because that was also the same episode, at least it was just George and I, that we had to deal with the fly in the room and the electric tennis.
Right, fly in the room.
I want to say that was the same episode.
Go back and watch our Ultimate Fighter show.
Jeff Goldblum still hasn't forgiven us.
Nobody else got that reference, sadly enough.
Like Daria laughs as if she knows what
I know exactly what you're talking
about. Okay,
about.
I'm surprised.
It has to do with WWE, right?
No.
God damn it! It's always WWE. I thought I was going with a safe call there.
But so even if it was WWE, you still wouldn't know it. But go ahead.
That's very true. I would not know. Dan Kelly versus Smilin' Sam Alvey. Alvey won via TKO in round 1. Alvey didn't only put on a performance.
Did he put on some tan?
Put on some suntan.
He put on some tan, and he
had a
put
little
on
stencil on his chest.
An interview of the night, to be sure. Afterwards, yeah. Sam was, I love this match. There was a lot of good candidates for performance bonus, and I think Sam probably would have won it. Performance bonus, knocking out Dan in the first with basically just rights to the face, dropping him like I think twice with a flurry. Once with a right, and then the second time flurry. But except for this. Hashtag or a sponsor that he had apparently spray tanned onto his chest, which, what was it exactly?
Perfect tan.
Hashtag perfect tan. Much like me. Maybe I should be sponsoring the show. I don't know.
We don't know.
But, I think that apparently that wigged out UFC officials that he kind of did that loophole in terms of sponsors and stuff like that.
I guess it's with, it's kind of relevant right now with the whole Reebok deal going on, saying that you can't have any other sponsors on your shorts coming July or something like that.
Well, Tom Wright, says the UFC's executive for Canada, Australia, amongst other locations, says that it's just against the policy. It's just not so much, I don't think it has to do with the Reebok deal. It just said you can put your sponsors on your shorts, you just can't put them on your body. Oh. I think that's what it comes down to.
And after July, you can't put them on the shorts.
Yeah, as of now, you can put them on the banner, you can put them on the shorts, just not on your body. Which kind of makes it weird because CM Punk's got that Pepsi logo.
He's not sponsored by that. It's just a stupid tattoo. Rico Rodriguez did this. There was harkening back when I saw this. I remember the story about Rico Rodriguez putting a website a website address on his back. I believe it was hennaed, and it pretty much took up the entire back.
That is so funny.
This was a while ago, and I believe, if I remember correctly, I think...
I remember that. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, California State Athletic Commission basically created... They had to write laws or add, add laws to their rules and regulations that you cannot do that.
Hey, you can't know the rule until someone breaks it, right?
I mean, Sam Alvey just said he just thought he was trying to be funny.
Right.
I mean, he's a guy who literally is smiling in every single moment before and after the fight.
Right.
Because he's just a smiling guy, why not? But he just said he was trying to be funny. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to break the rules. I just thought it would be funny. Thought it would entertain fans, which it did.
As did his post-fight interview.
Yeah.
Guys, I tweeted this, but you really should go out of your way. Aspiring fighters, go out of your way to watch the Smiling Sam Alvey Dan Kelly match, especially his post-fight interview, because that's the kind of thing where, when I say that people want to know who you are and people want to root for you, that's how you show yourself. I
mean, it's smart because a lot more people. I mean, I kind of figured him out, or kind of found out about him his last fight, but now a lot more people are going to find out about Sam Alvey. Not so much because of his fight ability, even though he's a good fighter. It's just now the sponsor, the tan, the calling out.
He's made a
all
statement.
Those things. Yeah.
I mean, he's done something that's put him in all MMA press. I mean, everyone's running the story today and yesterday. And you know what? If that's what it takes to get people to see the great character you have inside the octagon, hell yeah.
He's been that character for a while, though. I remember watching him in shows in Edmonton and
right,
around
but that's
regionally.
You. A lot of casual fans haven't
true.
seen him yet. So that was definitely a good introduction. Next on the card, we have Kyle Nook versus Jonathan Webb. Nook won via split decision. Now, this was the one that was kind of controversial. What did you think, Jay?
I had Jonathan Webb, not Jonathan, but Jonathan Webb winning the first and third. He's a guy to watch for, to be sure. Really impressive. He kept switching, very adaptable. If I can, I think that's a word. I've got to look up. But I was really impressed with how much malleable is what I want. He was able to adapt with the situation. He kept switching stance and he looked comfortable in both. He dropped down for a calf slicer. He got a takedown and was working for guillotine, and then switched to a calf slicer and was just really going with the flow. Big time with Nook, who himself, certainly a veteran and not an easy guy to get past at all.
Right.
The judges apparently gave it to Nook. Let's see. Somebody gave Webb 30-27 all 3 rounds, and then 2 other judges gave Nook the match 29-20. I gave Nook the second round. I'm guessing that they might have given him the first as well, because I thought that Webb really turned it up. In the second half of the third round, but I gave Webb the first as well, first and the third. He impressed me a lot, so I'm surprised how that one played out. But
well, you know what? When you have a fight like that, there's no loser in the sense of Dana White's eyes. He looks at fights like that are so entertaining and so athletic and so high in speaking in skill and technique that neither of those guys are going anywhere anytime soon.
No, to be sure, yeah. Kyle Nook will continue to fight. Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be one of those guys that fights. They reserve a lot of these guys, I think, for Australia and maybe New Zealand, hopefully Melbourne at some point. But I think they're figuring out who they can use, as headliners for that continent down there, which certainly makes sense.
Well, that's what I was surprised by. When I was watching the card, I was like, oh, they're going to Australia. I was like, how many Australian fighters do we really know? And it's like, oh my God, all these
people
are...
You've had 2 seasons of Ultimate Fighter involving an Australian
team. And I
team.
think that's helped develop a lot of really big names out there. And it makes it more entertaining for, any kind of fan, because we look and we see more familiar faces when we go, to these other countries.
Yeah. But Jonathan, I believe he was American. I think they brought him down.
Right.
And, hopefully we'll see more of him in the future.
Definitely.
On mainland U.S. cards.
Next on the card, we have Hatsu Hioki versus Dan the Hangman Hooker. Hioki won via TKO in round 2.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Hooker won.
Oh, did you say Hioki? Yeah.
Did I say Hioki? Oh, Hooker.
Dan Hooker.
I just can't read. Dan Hooker won via TKO in round 2.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Another
good one.
Absolutely, this was. I think people may have kind of earmarked this before the event as a potential fight of the night, and certainly makes sense. Sounded like Dan Hooker comes off a lot of hype regionally down there, him being a local. Actually, New Zealand, if I remember correctly. Yeah, New Zealand, not Australian. And I know the Australians and the Aussies and the Kiwis will they'll have your head if you make that mistake between the two of them. Big difference from them. From us, we just hear the same accent, but between the Aussies and the Kiwis, they don't like to get that mixed. Exactly.
That's like East Coast and West Coast, right? In America, you better not call me a New Yorker if I'm not.
I suppose something like that. Right. Probably to Australians and Kiwis, they get us mixed up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I would think so. But Hioki got a takedown off of a head kick. Dan escaped. Let's see. Hioki, the first round was super close. I was actually referring to the second just then. But Hioki was landing to the body, and Dan Hooker threw a head kick, followed up with rights, and Hioki was against the cage and just down. Mm-hmm. So, good performance for Dan.
I thought they both looked great. I mean, but obviously Dan Hooker took the W this time. But two guys that we obviously will see more of. The next fight was really interesting, and it was a landmark. The second youngest fighter in the UFC fought last night. Jake the Celtic Kid Matthews versus James the Texecutioner. I like that. Vick. James Vick won via guillotine 4 minutes and 53 seconds into round one. So Jake Matthews is 20 years old, super athletic, tall kid, really long reach. He's known for, I think, his boxing. Yeah. Oh, no, James is known for his boxing. He was a Golden Gloves champ. Mm-hmm. Really good cardio. Toward the end of round one, Vick began to come back while defending a takedown and secured the guillotine.
Mm-hmm. That was good. Jake Matthews looked very promising, though. I know it's kind of a blessing in disguise because he is 20.
Right.
He looked really good.
I thought he looked good,
and it's one of those things where, yeah, you lost, but, I mean, you're 20. I mean, you got possibly a long future in front of you.
Right.
So he's one of those guys I picked to really shine this year. And this match didn't happen for him in this match, but I think he's got a promising future. But to his credit, though, James Vick holds on to his undefeated record as well. Mm-hmm. So we may see more from him later on this year.
The beginning of the round, Jake was giving it to James. Mm-hmm. He was really taking it to him, putting his back against the cage. But James Vick came back and secured that submission.
Yeah.
Next we had Anthony the Hippo Parrish versus Sean the Real O'Connell.
The Real OC.
The Real OC.
Yep.
Oh.
OC O'Connell.
OC O'Connell. Got it. I thought you... Oh, it's all coming together now. Anyway, O'Connell won via TKO in round one. Wow. 1 minute and 56 in. Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot to this match. Sean O'Connell just came in.
Talk about landing big punches.
Flurries away. Yeah.
Didn't you guys feel like when you were watching this, like every shot was landing? Mm-hmm. I don't think I saw him miss one punch.
Yeah.
It was like rock, after one after the other.
Parrish is one of those guys, if I remember correctly, it can take a little bit of time for him to get started.
Yeah, they said he was a slow starter. That it takes a little time for him to warm up. Yeah.
There just wasn't enough time for him to get started in this one, But he's had some good fights in the past. It was Sean's moment to shine here.
I agree.
And he did. Next, we have Brad Tavvarus versus Robert Whitaker. This was an amazing performance by Robert Whitaker, and man, was he excited after this victory. Mm-hmm. Did you see, he was pounding his chest so hard, he had like an immediate bruise there. Did you see it? Yeah.
I mean, he's from New Zealand. He was one of the ones that won the Tough Enough smashes. Yep. He looked good.
His last performance, he looked really good too. I can't remember who he fought.
Clint Hester.
Clint Hester.
I looked it up.
Everything.
I looked it up earlier.
Like seconds ago.
The challenge is still on. But the challenge is still on Ariel Helwani.
We're gonna put that together.
I would love to see that. George versus Ariel Helwani.
We should. So the reference, guys, in case you missed it, this past Thursday, Ultimate Fighter, season 21. We had Ariel Helwani on, and it kind of came out. I think Suri mentioned one of our hosts referred to Ariel as a walking encyclopedia, or actually, I think Ariel did. Come to think of it, I think Ariel referred to himself as a walking encyclopedia, which certainly is true.
Right.
But that was also the nickname that we first were introduced, of course, to George way back in the days. So
it was like a year ago.
It was way back, 366 plus days at least.
At least.
So I threw down the gauntlet about Ariel versus George in some kind of match, but I guess it's MMA trivia essentially, right?
There we go. I would love to see that.
Yeah,
I think he would win.
we should put that together. Somebody's got to work on a hashtag for that.
I think he would win. I don't know, because I was listening to him talk, and he's like, oh, UFC 86, yeah, this, and then this was the undercard. I mean, I know that's up, but as far as the numbers go, I'm like, how do you remember the numbers?
Well,
There's
to
so
be
many.
fair, he was at a lot of them when
probably.
you weren't.
And he is a full-time MMA journalist.
That's true.
He's getting paid for it. If you pay me that much, then yeah, absolutely, I'll have everything memorized.
Soon, George. We're going to make this happen. Okay. But anyway, Whitaker...
I think he'd beat you too, frankly.
I
want to see that happen.
I have him in wrestling though, but yeah, Brad Tavvarus is somebody who has been looking very promising recently as well. Just coming off a unanimous physical victory over Nate the Great Marquardt.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He's a guy that
he was beasting in that one too.
I think he was 13 or 14 in the rankings in the middleweight division. Mm-hmm. 14th in the middleweight division. So
yeah,
definitely Whitaker shows that he belongs in that those
Absolutely.
rankings.
Brad fared very well when he was on Tough a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Went, I think, to the semifinals. Might have, I think, lost to Court McGee or so. And then, has had a pretty decent run, racking up a string of wins in the UFC. Mm-hmm. Some losses here and there, but he's a guy that a lot of people, I think, are still sleeping on. But the guy's got power.
I think so.
Strength.
They both looked so good going into that cage. Didn't they look so calm and ready? Mm-hmm. You saw Brad Tavvarus taking his shoes off and he lined him up before he gave him to his coach. I was like, oh my god, this guy is so with it. You watch fighters walk out to the cage and maybe it's just me because I've done it, but. And I look at their mannerisms and, are they calm? Are they nervous? Are they excited? Are they pumped? Are they, what their mindset is. And it's so interesting seeing how everyone deals with, the excitement differently. Mm-hmm. And Brad Tavvarus, to me, just looks so calm and ready and patient.
He's not afraid to throw down against tough guys. He'll take on tough opponents.
Right.
He has already. And so it's just another day at the office to him.
Right.
I think he's certainly veteran enough that there's no jitters involved with him.
Right. But something to speak of is the power behind Whitaker's punches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first seconds of this fight, that left hook that he landed, it's so funny. Kenny Florian said, watch out for that left hook as the hook was landing. So good job, Kenny Florian, with your Whitaker knowledge. But it landed so clean and rocked Tavvarus immediately.
Yeah.
Then he landed the same thing again. It was more of a looping left hook the second time, but it was the same hand again. And finally he finishes it on the ground with that right, and it was over.
Yeah.
Good fight.
Good fight. That was probably my favorite fight.
I'd like to see Whitaker. I'd like to see what he's going to do next.
Where do you put him? You're looking at the rankings?
CB Dalloway?
He's not listed right now?
Well, no, it's not. This update's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So obviously, I would think that Tavvarus goes down.
Tavvarus is currently at 14.
Carnero goes to 14 and then put Whitaker at 15.
Yeah.
Dalloway, who just came off a loss against Michael Bisping. Yeah, I put him against my CB Dalloway.
CB Dalloway,
yeah.
That would be interesting. Definitely
a great test for either one of them.
When did CB Dalloway last fight?
Well, 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah,
against Michael
recent.
Bisping.
So that would be perfect.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, right? 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was on the same one as Machida and Rockhold.
Yep.
Right?
Jersey. It was the Jersey card, right?
Jersey?
Yep.
Jersey.
It all went down in Jersey. Okay, so we have the main event of the evening in the heavyweight division, Stipe Miocic versus Mark Super Samoan Hunt.
Both coming off of losses. I think Miocic last fought in December. I remember because
I remember covering it.
I remember going to your house and having Little Caesars while we were watching Junior Dos Santos versus Stipe Miocic.
Did.
I let Little Caesars into my house? Really?
You did. Oh, man. Yeah, you might have even praised him for it.
Ooh.
And then Mark Hunt just coming off that interim for the interim championship against Fabricio Verdun. So both of them looking to bounce back, and
this was
it was kind of hard to watch at some points.
Really hard to watch.
Stipe Miocic had his night against Mark Hunt. He was landing well, and then proceeded. We'd get him against the cage, takedown, and then just punished him. And Mark could not try as he might. There was some moments of shrimping out and usually getting to the cage and wall walking up.
Listen, Mark Hunt did such a good job of getting back up a couple times.
Yeah.
But when you get, especially heavyweights, I couldn't even imagine getting taken down, dragged down that many times, being in half guard on the bottom, and just being grinded out with elbows to the face.
Yeah.
It was so, it seemed so calculated watching it. I'm sure Stipe Miocic was putting all his power into it. But it looked like he was kind of just teasing him with these elbows. Like, they weren't hard enough to knock him out. They weren't hard enough to cut him open. Yet they were hurting him. And it was just this cycle. And that happened for 3 or 4 rounds.
I think at least my interpretation was he was very focused about keeping position. The whole thing about position before submission.
Absolutely.
Never mind, he wasn't going for a submission.
I think
but he was keeping top control on the guy on
I agree.
Hunt. You know,
I think he was trying to keep position, but I also think he was trying to tire Hunt out because I think what he feared most was Hunt's power standing up.
True.
So I think his thought process was, okay, if I get him to the ground, wear his arms out, make him really fight from the bottom, when he gets up, his power is going to be gone, or at least his cardio is going to be zapped, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it. But, oh, God, was it hard to watch at some points.
I mean, what was that? 10-9. I gave Miocic 10-9 in the first 2, 10-8s in the third and fourth.
Right.
And it wasn't exactly, I think there was one moment in the third when Miocic was really close to finishing Hunt. The referee was about to step in.
For sure.
You know,
the crowd was booing. The commentators were saying it probably could have been stopped.
There were a lot of shots
should have been
there.
stopped.
Yeah,
I
probably
agree.
should have been.
It should have
if
been
only-
stopped, especially between the 4th and the 5th round.
If only because
Yeah.
Hunt could not. I mean, he was just barely doing enough to keep the match going, but he wasn't really advancing his position.
No, and what needs to go into account, once again, I hate to differentiate weight classes, but when you're looking at guys that big with that much power behind themselves, and, you know, even if they are just hammer fists coming from here to the head, when there's that many and there's no defense there, you have to stop the fight.
I mean, not blaming the ref, but you had Miocic just pound on Hunt, and then he would say, "Hunt, do something."
And Hunt would.
And
Would
he
do
would
just
just do
enough.
like a
Yes.
little punch, like just out of nowhere. Okay, cool, he's fine. You know, it's like, no, that's not fine.
Yeah.
That's begging for dear life. You know,
It
And, yeah.
was. I wanted it to be stopped. And between the 4th and the 5th round, his face was unrecognizable. I mean, his eyes were damn near shut. You couldn't see his face too well, and he looked pretty battered.
And yet he still was able to convince the doctor and the referee he could see.
His
And
spirit, I mean, talk about warrior spirit like we were saying earlier.
Oh.
I've never seen a guy come back from such damage, such a beating, and continue to perform the way he did.
yeah. Was Mark, do me a favor, George, check back Mark's career. In Pride, was he the first one to defeat Vanderlei Silva after that long streak? Mark Hunt's his matches in Pride and K1. I mean, that's the stuff that you just the guy was such a Terminator. He's like the Hulk. You know.
He is.
Am I wrong about that? Am I? He did defeat Vanderlei, and by decision. I think that might have been the first time that Vanderlei lost after a very long win streak. Keep going.
Yeah,
Yep,
I mean,
that's
he had
the one.
won.
What
He had
year
a
was
couple
that?
draws because of
Right, the draw with
2004.
Mirko,
Right.
but he beat Rampage. What year was that?
That was his first
2004.
official loss.
2004. Pride Shockwave 2004. Yeah, guys. Mark Hunt is one, in the K1. I don't think Fight Pass has K1, but go Mark Hunt, Pride, there's your homework, guys. Go back, have fun with that
Talk
one.
Even
about a
some of
guy
his-
that has a chin.
Even some of his previous fights, look up him against Antonio Silva.
Yeah.
Look up him against Junior Dos Santos. Even though the Silva one was a draw and Santos was a just flat out loss. I mean, that guy took a beating. I think a lot of it, the only reason why he really even lost because his cardio was pretty much done.
Yeah.
Like, I think he still could have literally taken a pounding and not have passed out or been knocked out. But yeah, he just was done. Like, gas was below empty.
Right. Yeah, I mean, similar to how we saw him this fight. But not to take anything away from Stipe Miocic. He looked amazing. When you can go in the cage and not only dominate someone, but dominate them slowly and the way that you want to. I mean, he had complete control over that fight. He did whatever he wanted with Mark Hunt towards the third and fourth round. And, he prevailed in the end.
And he stuck to the game plan, too, because a lot of people were booing. I think they were mostly booing because they were like,
two
come
different
on,
things.
give this guy a chance. Don't take him down. Let him stand up.
Because
But-
that's also their countrymen. They wanted to
Well,
see.
yeah, of
Right,
course. But I
right.
think part of it was because they started booing during the takedown. It was like, come on, I want to see these guys slug it out.
Yeah.
That's what we love Mark Hunt for.
Right.
But no, Miocic is very. I mean, I of course I would have liked to seen that as well. But Miocic, what? Screw that. I'm going to stick to my game plan. Very accurate striking, by the way, which I think he had. They said that he had Krokop kind of help him out.
Yeah.
He helped train
this
with
training
Krokop,
camp?
Yeah.
I
that
believe it.
Croatian connection.
Even
I
though
believe it.
Miocic is, I think, born in Ohio.
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
his
Clevelander.
Yeah, he's from, or his family's from Croatia, so they got that bond. If anything, back in the Miocic first started, he had that crow-copied kind of trunks.
Oh, yeah.
And the little red and white
the
checker.
The tight trunks with the Purina puppy chow
Yeah.
logo.
Pretty much.
That's what I think whenever I see that.
Oh, that's funny.
I should think head kick.
Yes, you should think head kick anytime his name comes into play.
So, yeah, impressive showing by Miocic.
So we had some MMA drama unfold, some UFC specific drama unfold since we last saw you guys. Obviously, Jon Jones.
Don't know anything about it.
Oh my God, let me tell you.
That upsets me because here we are. Okay, so it happens almost every time. So obviously we're here every week recapping all the shows. Obviously UFC doesn't run every single week, but it feels like whenever we do have that break in between,
something big happens.
No, not only something big happens, but it happens like the day after we're here. So now we got to wait 2-3 weeks to cover it.
Because everything always happens on the weekend, and then they reveal the details on Monday.
Because I think the last time that happened was when the Anderson Silva thing happened. And I remember that one we had a break, and I was like, man, now I can't even talk about it for like 3 weeks or so.
It's tough.
Now, of course, last time we were here was 2 weeks ago. The whole thing with Jon Jones happens that weekend, Sunday, Monday, and we're like, oh man. I mean, of course, we're amongst ourselves. We were talking, and if anybody out there wants to, talk to us, hashtag ABTVUFC. We love to interact with all you guys, and feel free to, talk to us on Twitter. But yeah, a lot of stuff has happened since that.
So
yeah.
Jon Jones is obviously out of UFC 187, I believe it is. And replacing him,
he's off their list for a minute now.
He's not even ranked. He's not even ranked.
Not just the show, man.
He's not ranked. He's not anything.
Out of the rankings.
Yeah.
Stripped of the title, off the rankings. He's put on the bench.
Well, let's tell him the full story, just in case they don't know, Jay.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Jon Jones.
Jon Jones.
Okay, so first off, I think if anything, we were talking about it during our last show. Show,
yes,
breaking news. So we heard about it.
Jon Jones had been involved in a hit and run.
Right?
Turns out it wasn't alleged. It did happen. Kind of long story short, hits run. They find marijuana pipe. No, I think just the pipe. Right.
Hit a pregnant woman's car. I believe she was in it. She had a broken arm. He ran from the scene. I think over some bushes or so.
Then he came back to pick up money.
Yeah, pocket full of cash, and then took off again. Apparently, there was a cop nearby.
Have you seen
officer.
The body cam? I haven't seen the body cam footage yet.
I don't know if there is any.
There is.
Okay, I don't know any.
There's footage of I guess they all wear the body cams.
Yeah, right.
But he was an off-duty officer, so I don't know that he would have had that. Unless if you've seen body cam footage, then okay. But I don't know about an off-duty cop wearing a body cam.
I started watching.
A lot of on-duty cops are now wearing those body cams.
I started.
That's a whole other topic.
I didn't get a chance to finish it.
But at any rate, though, a hit and run. He ran. Cops later at the scene found a full weed pipe with weed in it. Maybe there's some other packets of weed or whatever. But marijuana and a marijuana pipe at the scene. The car, I believe, was a rental. Registered in his name and some other UFC paperwork, as it was reported, in the car. So this was Jon, to be sure. He was, at least for about 24 hours or so, kind of...
MIA.
MIA is the right way. I was going to say on the lam, but that might be the wrong technical terminology. Did turn himself in, I believe, Monday that evening, and was arraigned, I believe, for felony hit and run. And I don't know what other specific charges, but that's some serious stuff there.
It's really serious.
For anybody, let alone a UFC champion, let alone one of your top, most well-known UFC champions.
For sure.
I know life is a lot more than just UFC pay-per-views, entertainment, but at the same time, he did have a fight coming up in a month after that.
Right.
So they had a hearing. I think they were kind of mentioning early, because I remember it was on a Tuesday. They were just kind of mentioning he's got a fight coming up. Already kind of his lawyer's already thinking about fighting. Obviously, Jon Jones was maybe still trying to think about fighting. I'm thinking to myself, there's no way this guy should fight. Obviously, he's got a lot of things that he needs to go through, and apparently the UFC agreed.
Yeah.
Stripped him of the belt, suspend him, indefinitely.
Daniel Cormier now in his place to fight for the title.
And I think...
Not even an interim title, the actual
title.
I think they made the right decision, because that's what I was thinking, too. I was like, dude, strip him. Don't have these maybes or what ifs when he's going to come back. Just strip him, And again, fast forward, God hope he gets his life together, not just for... the sake of a comeback story, but just because, because he's still a human being.
Because you want good things for him.
Yeah, for anyone, hopefully everybody goes through. But yeah, it'd be the ultimate redemption story too. Great storyline. Fast forward year, 2 years, who knows? So
most people seem to think that he will be back. I agree.
He's young. Jon Jones is very young still.
Yeah. It's consensus across the board. It was the right thing to do because there's no way really from at least a PR standpoint, but let alone also Jones' well-being, and that you have to put him on ice. You have to strip him of the title and really force him to focus on whatever's going on with him, as opposed to the UFC, his career, things like that.
Yeah, and
everyone also seems to think that he is going to come back because, like you said, he's young.
He's very young, and he has plenty of time to get his life together. But not only for his well-being, should they strip the title and do this to Jon, but also the name of the UFC. We need to support and represent people that deserve it and want it. And when you do things that are, out of conduct or, not what you're supposed to be doing as the UFC champion of the world, you got to kind of rein down on that.
I think a lot of it had to do with this wasn't exactly strike one either.
That's another
He had the DUI.
The DUI was the first thing.
He had the coke thing earlier this year. Now this, it's like, ugh.
And the DUI was with a suspended license anyway.
Yeah,
an already suspended license. So he definitely has a previous history of
not
partying.
That Dana White, he did nothing wrong. I think he made the right choice. He had no choice.
The previous two times.
But it was also the right choice to do as far as, do you think that they should have stripped, everything that happened, do you agree with that's what should have happened? With Dana White,
Yeah.
There's no question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We talked very briefly about this on Thursday, but it's. I don't think that there's much of an argument, quite honestly.
No, I don't think many people are arguing it. It is what it is. It's fair is fair.
I agree. Because I was saying that they should just strip on the belt. With that said, is Daniel Cormier the right guy to come in and be that guy?
Yeah, who else would you put? Alexander Gustafsson, but he just lost to.
But Cormier just lost to Jon Jones.
This is also injured too, so you would have announced Gustafsson.
Gustafsson just got knocked out by Johnson himself.
Jon Johnson, but Gustafsson got hurt after they announced Daniel Cormier as filling in. But I'd say Cormier makes the most sense.
Cormier makes the most
sense
just
because he lost, but it's not like he lost in the first round. He went to the full decision with Jon Jones.
The conversation is. With Cormier and Johnson, and one of them is going to be the winner and the new champion, and announced and declared as and considered the true champion. Are you going to take that person as the true light heavyweight champion, despite that he hasn't beaten Jon Jones yet?
Well, even if you don't at first, even if you are a fan that needs to warm up to the idea of having one of them as your champ, as soon as they get 2 to 3 title defenses under their belt, that's when that's when I'll take you serious. So,
but in the meantime, I still am going to take the guy seriously. Whoever wins,
absolutely.
That's the champion.
There's such high level competitors, and Jon Jones is the guy in his weight class that defeats everybody in his weight class.
Yeah, that, and also though I understand the linear mentality that you didn't beat the champion, therefore you're not really the champion. It's an asterisk. But in this case, the champion beat himself, and I think that's completely a fair thing to say. There is a code of conduct, and there is a higher standard for athletes, and also entertainers to a certain extent. But in this case, with athletes, it's competitive. That's the world that they live in. So therefore, there is a higher standard that they have to step up to. And if they've failed themselves, as Jon has in this case, then the promotion is full right and was in the right position to strip him of the title, which means that there is not a champion now.
Absolutely.
But there will be come May 23rd.
That being said, I think that the more accepted winner would obviously be Johnson because he hasn't recently lost to Jones. Whereas Daniel Cormier, they're going to say, oh, he got through a loophole because he just lost to Jones, and that they might talk more. Whereas if Johnson wins, they're like, oh, he's the best there is right now. We'll see when Jones comes back what happens, but right now he's the champ.
It's very similar if the guy was injured, for a serious long-term situation, and you knew that he wasn't going to be able to defend, so they put another title in, or a title match in there. But I would still consider him the champion. I don't even really like the title of interim champion.
I don't like it either because it implies that you're not the best in the division when you are at this point. So, you should be considered the champion. But
I can tell you from firsthand, it's very hard to keep a champion, keep him around, keep him in line to defend the title constantly, or or on whatever schedule you have of them. People drop out from matches all the time on our shows, and that's the case with title holders as well. So
hopefully
it is what
at
it
the
is.
UFC level they take it more seriously and they realize that the dependency of their families on the line and stuff like that. But
it's
the Jones case is a rarity, thank God. But
sure, yeah,
absolutely. I'm sure you're familiar with the schedule of a champ.
Yeah, but if when somebody falls out, they're not able to defend their title anymore, then they are not a champion.
Right.
And if somebody's on the sideline for a little bit, you move on, and it's a bit of a different thing than this. In which case, he's got some bigger. This is just like in some ways just like a very big injury. It's a big mental injury, if nothing else.
It's a boo boo. It's a mess up. And we've seen it with the heavyweight division. We've seen it with a couple other weight classes where, the champ, like you said, constantly gets injured, and you're like, oh my God, what do we do with this weight class? Do we keep him on hold, or do we move on with this? And I think it's a clear cut answer. Jones out. Daniel Cormier and Johnson.
But this for disciplinary actions, obviously.
Exactly, for something else, of course. Yeah.
We're going to start wrapping up soon. So I know we wanted to talk about the Reebok deal. They kind of announced a pay structure of everything.
What do you guys so they announced the pay structure. I think it was 1 to 5 fights. You get like 10 grand.
2,500.
This is just straight sponsorship based on. It's really nice.
Are you looking
at
at
least
it?
that
Do you have it in front of you? Go ahead, read it.
So 1 to 5, 2,500, 6 to 10, 5,000.
This is bouts that you fought in the UFC.
And also Strikeforce, or WEC.
And Pride.
Anything under Zuffa.
Yeah. So 11 to 15 is 10 grand. 16 to 20 is 15. 21 or more, 20,000. Title challengers get 30,000, and champions receive 40,000 per fight.
Okay, now I don't know what sponsors pay because I just don't. But I would assume that sponsors like Burger King, Gatorade.
I'm gonna assume just based on the reaction of the fighters themselves that that is not good.
No, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good because not to compare this to boxing, but Canelo just fought and made like 3.5 mil.
On sponsors?
Mayweather just fought.
No, not on sponsors. On fight purse.
Okay, that's different.
Right, of course. But what I'm saying is, we know what the fight purse of UFC fighters are. We see it every time it's released, and it's nowhere near that. So we would hope that we don't know the numbers of the sponsors and that they're secretly really good, so that our fighters are getting paid, somewhat similar.
Some fighters have gone public with their numbers. Brendan Schaub and Demetrius Johnson have talked about earning 6 figures on sponsorships alone. Under this schedule here, if you look, both of them are within 10 to 15 fights. I think actually, I looked it up, and I think Brendan Schaub has 11, and DJ has maybe 14 or 15. So they're making 10,000. By this pay schedule. 40. Actually, you're right. I take that back. 40 because he is a champion.
He's a champ, yeah. He gets paid.
But from Schaub, for example, 6 figures, if that's his basis, and now he's down to 10,000. There's no way to really justify that.
How do you justify this? What is the UFC's justification?
The UFC justification is that he looks better in the uniform. Oh, nobody across the board. Well, I had a Twitter conversation with the Funk Master, Aljamain Sterling, and Anthony. His name escaped me. Last name begins with a B. Borchak, I think, and they seem to be taking a little bit different stances towards it. I believe Sterling, when we first started talking, he was kind of making the point that it was easier now. He seemed to be welcoming it, if I understood what he was saying, because it was he wasn't going to have to deal with fly-by-night companies, wasn't going to have to chase after certain fighters. But he did obviously want more of that money, though.
If you have a good manager, though, hustle the hustle and get what you can get.
Yeah, Anthony Burchak was posting. I remember Sterling saying something about now he doesn't have to look like a NASCAR.
I get
a NASCAR label. And Burchak, later on in the conversation said that, what's wrong with that? Those guys are getting paid huge money to look like that. And, I agree. I'm not against the way that we have things now, but there is unfortunately a certain economic bubble that has burst with sponsorship. People are not paying. People don't see the value of having your logo on a fighter's butt like they used to. And that's understandable. I've never really been... I'm going to get in trouble at some point when I say this, but I've never been that much of a big believer in the sponsorship game as far as putting the logo on a butt. You've got to go that much farther. And so we can talk about this more next week, but
they're playing the music.
You're going to have to do more to be a spokesman to earn that money.
I agree. Guys, wake up early next Saturday because that's when the next UFC is going to be playing. It's Faber versus.
I'm recording it and then I'm watching
Edgar.
it.
Are you not waking up?
I ain't waking up that early.
Why? We'll get pancakes. We can all watch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pajama party at Daria's place.
Party at my
Real
place.
quick though, who do you have? Frankie Edgar or Uriah Faber?
Oh, I think I gotta go with Jersey here.
No, it's Edgar or Faber.
Edgar.
Okay. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Frankie Edgar.
I'm going to Frankie Edgar. You can follow me at Hermoza, at GHERMOZ on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on MySpace, on Google Plus, whatever it is.
There you go. Jay, where can we find you?
JTan 716 and the big three as usual. Happy Mother's Day, Carol.
And the next UFMA.
Yes, that too. May 31st. Tickets are at uofmma.com. Card is really getting stacked up. God, I can't believe it's around the corner.
I know. We'll
Jeez
all be there
Louise.
watching. Guys, you can find me at Daria B28 like always, and Daria the Jersey Devil Berenato on everything else, I think, besides Twitter. Guys, Quest Nutrition. They hooked me up with some awesome bars, and they showed me around their facilities. Best Quest bars, best nutrition bars around. Try them out. See you guys later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Happy Mother's Day!
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.